How's it going, guys, and welcome to a F1 2014 challenge episode. And this is where I will be driving as Fernando Alonso in the McLaren Honda using the F1 2015 mod, which you can use, which I'll put in a link in the description below from Race Department. It's a really good mod. Check it out if you want to use it for your own offline experience and recreate the current 2015 season. The challenge is very simple. We're at Canada, where we saw both McLarens not finishing at all. So we're going to see if we can get Fernando Alonso his first points of his return to McLaren, as currently he hasn't done really well so far. We're starting in P17 on the grid, using the default setup as the challenge as well to throw a bit of a spanner in the works as well on there, as we are about to get ready to roll. It's a one-stop race, starting on the super soft tyres. We're going to see where we finish in this race and see if we get Fernando Alonso his first points since coming back to McLaren. The grid is an all Mercedes front row with Rosberg on pole, with Hamilton second, us in 17th, and our teammate Jenson Button, interesting enough, on the prime tyre as well. So it is a split strategy in McLaren as the lights are on. Oh, we're going to see if Alonso gets first points of the season. Let's see as we go green. As I said, green, it's lights out and away we go. Many apologies for keeping his oval racing here. As there's a surprise, Robert Murhai is just gone past, Roberto Merry, sorry, has got past Jenson Button already, which is kind of a shock really to see. As we are still in 17th, we're going to try and go down a couple of drivers, mainly Romain Grosjean, and we get a decent start there out of turn 1, and we're side by side with Sergio Perez, who goes round the outside. Got Hulkenberg there on the right, and also I think that was Marcus Ericsson there. We've made a bit of contact with both of those drivers, giving us a bit of warning there for causing a collision at that point. So we're up to 14th then, as we're taking it very cautiously. I think that's Nico Hulkenberg side by side with us. Round the outside, he's going to try and pull the move off, and this will be quite an impressive move if he does it. As we're going to be braking under the bridge now, we're going to stay to the inside line. Hulkenberg goes completely off the track there, cutting the corner, and gets a slowdown, moving Ericsson up to 14th, but he lost it to Raikkonen as we move on to lap number 2 here, as we're all over the back of Sergio Perez in that Force India, where there's a massive train from about 13th all the way up to 9th or 8th. I can't really tell, but we're going to get that draft. But as you can see from the Honda engine, not really getting up to speed. Like we were just getting to 8th gear before the final corner. There's a bit of a check-up going on here between Maldonado, Nasser, Verstappen and Perez, and we just take that opportunity to move up into 12th place, and we're going to try and get past Max Verstappen as well. Bit of wheel bagging there between us, but he brakes early and we get the move done, and we get a cheeky warning as well for the little slight contact on the wheel as we've gone slightly wide, and Raikkonen there is side by side with us as we're going to try get the move done round the outside. We brake a bit later than him and get the move done up into 11th place we go. Bit of oversteer as well, countering that very nicely there on this mod. As we're going to come now, we're only 1.3 behind Felipe Massa, and most importantly that 10th place, which is vital for Fernando Alonso to get his first points of his return to McLaren Honda. Moving on to lap 5, and we've still got the gap between us and Felipe Massa the same, as Raikkonen is behind us as well. As we've got, I think that's a Red Bull there, leading this train of cars on there, so we're just going to try and keep it nice and consistently. We were still in the 17s, which is pretty consistent for us, and something I found it really weird because I don't really make consistent times. We lose the back end slightly there as our tyres our rears are starting to burn off a bit, so we need to be very careful on that if we're going to make a pit stop. We'll be braking really late into the hairpin there, and we're getting a lot of time on Felipe Nasr from 7 tenths down to probably a tenth and a half. And most importantly, we will get the DRS on Felipe Nasr, and hopefully now with the draft and the DRS, as Nasr's not got any draft at all, as we're going to brake but make slight contact there with Nasr on the rear of his car, but we get a nice exit there, and Nasr's got a very poor one, so we can try and take this opportunity now with the extra speed from the exit of the corner, and we go down the inside of Felipe Nasr, and we are now in the points paying positions as we enter lap 6 of this Canadian Grand Prix, with our next man in front is Daniel Kvyat in that Red Bull, as Pastor Maldonado did get past Kvyat as well during the last lap there. Further down the lap, onto lap 6, as we just go very wide in entry on that corner, and we lose the back end completely, luckily saving it there, but we do lose the spot to Felipe Nasr, but we're going to try and hold on I don't think we've got the DRS though, because it used to be here where the detection point was, but they moved it before the hairpin corner. So I was a bit vigilant thinking, are we going to get DRS? We've got a nice gap behind to Max Verstappen, and we do get DRS, which I was quite surprised about on there, but then I realised that the detection point is actually quite close. So we're going to do a tactic here and pit early, 2 laps earlier than expected, and see if we can do a big undercut on the cars around us. Really, we're fighting with Maldonado, Nasser, Verstappen, Hulkenberg, and Marcus Ericsson, and Kimi Raikkonen as well, who's on the prime tyres, I will say as well, I believe. So, gotta be thinking it, as he's down in 17th place, so I wonder if he's pitted or not on there. And Jenson Button, I have to say, a very disappointing race for Jenson Button. He's the last of the decent cars if you take out the Manners, the Manor Marushas, and we just popped out ahead of our teammate, who is obviously on the prime still, on the prime tyre, so he won't be pitting till around about lap 11, lap 12 on there. So we're moving on now to lap number 9, as we've all made pit stops, and we're still in 12th position, as we see a few more people going into the pits. We've got one in there, but we get the DRS now on Pastor Maldonado, who's had a bit of a disastrous 2015 season so far. He did get some points already in the real-life Canadian Grand Prix. We lose the back end, they're getting a lot of oversteer. That corner's moved up into 11th place now, so Pastor Maldonado is in that crucial points-paying position on there, as he goes really slow through turn 2 on there, so we have to make a decisive action to move out the way to not hit the back of him, which gives Max Verstappen the chance to gain the time back, and is all over the back of us once again on there. So onto lap 10, and we're going to try again, but there's just nowhere to overtake Pastor Maldonado on there. And again, the back end's starting to slide out a bit there, so we need to be very vigilant on rear tyre wear. But we get a nice bit of draft now, trying to pull out there, but we did not want to recreate a Perez Massa moment from last year's Canadian Grand Prix race, so I backed out of it completely, which did not help me, as Max Verstappen is still over the back of us at this stage of the race. So on to lap 12, and as you just heard from the engineer, we have lost DRS, which really affects me down the long straight. Here's, again, we got a lot of oversteer, losing it and hitting the wall nearly, but we very, very lucky to avoid the wall. And most importantly as well, we did not lose a position to Max Verstappen, but it did help Felipe Nasser, who is now on the back of Max Verstappen with only 6.5 laps to go with this race. It's going to be very close between Maldonado, myself, Verstappen and Nasser. Also Kimi Raikkonen as well, who is about 3 seconds behind Nasser, but is on fresher tyres, so he's going to be hunting us down like a hawk. So it'll be very interesting to see how that goes. But we're moving on to lap 14 now, and Maldonado is still around 0.8 of a second, so the gap has not been reduced or increased at the same time. The gap's been really the same between all 4 of us on there. So we have a 4-way horse here for 9th position. And interesting enough, I forgot to use the DRS there, so I was kind of a bit clumsy to not do that on there. So we're going to go over the final corner, very aggressive on entry there, which did put us a bit off wide out of the final part of the chicane on there. So we're going to try and go down the inside of Pastor Maldonado, and he comes across there. Was that illegal? Illegal block there, but let me know in the comments below what you think about that. But because of that, Max Verstappen is on the inside. We're going to try and go on the outside of him now into this corner, giving him a lot of room, getting a lot of Marlboro on the tyres there, but we get the move done. And that has pulled Nasser as well past Max Verstappen in that battle. So Nasser moves up to 11th, and Verstappen drops to 12th on there. So we've only got a few more laps remaining of this race. We're still clinging on to 10th position because of that battle with Verstappen as well. Maldonado has pulled a gap on us already, so we need to be very careful on there. Moving on to lap 16 now, as it's still the same with the gap. Maldonado has slightly pulled a gap on us, so this is going to be a 3-way scrap for the last point paying position on this race, and we brake really late and lock the front right. The tyres are going off slightly there. Paying 2 laps early has played dividends there, and we've just lost the back end completely out of the hairpin, and Nasser has got through, and Max Verstappen as well has moved up, so we've lost 2 positions in the space of a corner. Raikkonen's going to try and go down the inside of us, but backs out of it completely, as we've only got 2 laps now to get past Max Verstappen at least, who is now in 10th place as someone retired from the race. I did not know who it was at this point. So we're on to the final lap now of the race, and there are 9th and 10th of Verstappen and Nasser. Raikkonen also can still get in the points if he really pushes now, but we have got very worn tyres, as you can see from that, just no turning whatsoever. Pitting 2 laps early may be the reason for me struggling at this point, but we're still not going to give up. We missed the apex of that corner completely there, as we've only got half a lap to go, and the gap there, as you can see, is 7/10 of a second to Max Verstappen, as Lewis Hamilton takes the win of the race on there. So we need to think now, are we going to get a chance here? We get a great entry through that chicane, maybe pushing the limits of corner cuts there, but we were okay on there as we break into the hairpin. We break really late into this corner, but we get it absolutely spot on, and we will get DRS for the final time on this zone. But are we going to have enough the gap to drop the gap down to try and get a pass down? But we've got a slow car up ahead. I don't know who that is, but Nasser and Verstappen. Verstappen just brakes really early for the corner. We've got to take evasive action. We're in the points there. Verstappen's going to go on the inside, and here comes Kimi Raikkonen down the centre. It's 3 wide down the straight, and Raikkonen just pips us to the line. And in the harshest of ways, we lose out on a point for Fernando Alonso, and he will be gutted on there. But on the plus side, he did finish this race and not retire on there. So we will have to try another track in the to get Alonso his first points of the season. If you want to see more, let me know in the comments below, and I'll get another episode up for you guys on there. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more F1 content. But until next time, guys, when will we see Alonso get a point finally for his return at McLaren Honda? We'll have to wait and see for the second race that I attempt on there. Until next time, guys, have a great day, and I shall see you for another video. Take care. See you later.